everybody in this fandom at one point was a young fur, which is a furry under the age of 16. Now, for some of us, our younger years as a furry was really cringy, and we may have annoyed a lot of the older furs. So I thought I'd make a video giving some of you younger furries tips and advice, so you hopefully won't make the same mistakes as I did, and hopefully not be as cringy as I was. So let's get right into it. Okay, tip number 1. People are gonna call you weird for being a furry. But this fandom is weird, and that's a good thing, because if everybody did normal things, you would never really find something new and it'd be very boring. So just be yourself and don't change yourself for anyone. If you want to be a furry, be one, and don't let people tell you otherwise. Also, being a furry is a lot of fun. You meet friendly, kind people, you get to make really awesome characters and art. There are a lot of good artists in our community, and a lot of good content creators. We have animators like Chipflake. We have content creators like Majira, Telephone. I know she does content. There's a lot of just good content in this fandom as well, and like me, I got the best content ever. Okay, I was joking there. So, what's that? Enjoy being in this fandom, and if anybody calls you weird, just let them, because it is a weird, it is a weird hobby, but it's one of the best in my opinion, because there's just so much to do and there's so many friendly people. So don't change yourself for anyone. Tip number 2. Don't buy a fursuit when you're still growing. Now, I have seen a few younger furries do this, and I know they look super cool and you want one a lot, but don't buy one until you have finished growing, because you'll spend all your money on a really nice suit and then you're going to grow out of it in 2 years or so. So wait until the age of, I would say, at least 16 or older, because you should, by then, should be kind of stop growing. You should be at your maximum height. If you want to play it safe, wait until you're about 20 or something like that. But just make sure you buy one when you finish growing, or you start slowing down on the growing side, because you don't want to buy one and grow out of it. I mean, if you do want to buy one under the age of 16, buy something like a mini partial, because they're cheap for a suit, and you won't really grow out of them. So maybe get something like that. Do not buy a full body one, because they're expensive. And not just that, but you shouldn't buy a full body one, even if you're over the age of 16, as your first, because you might buy it and it might turn out you don't like fursuiting. So you spend all that money into that suit and now you're not gonna use it or wear it, obviously. So buy a mini partial as your first one, or partial as your first one anyway. So if you like it, then then you can go and get a full body. And if you don't like it, then at least you haven't spent thousands and thousands and thousands on the suit. So keep that in mind. Tip number 2. Do not trace or steal art. Now, I know this happens, but most young furs don't do it on purpose. Some of them don't understand that they can't trace art or use art they find on Google. Now, you can trace art if it's for educational purposes and you don't publish it saying you did that. So, if you do trace art, don't publish it and say, oh, this is the art I draw. Don't do that. If you want to trace art for educational purposes, do it in your sketchbook. Keep it in your sketchbook. Do not go out to the public saying you did that, because that is stealing art. And if you do find an image of Google, like an icon that say you really like, make sure you get permission of the artist or the owner. Don't just take it off Google and use it. Make sure you have permission from the owner or the artist. Now, if you do want an icon that looks really nice, or some art that looks really nice, again, don't trace or steal it. Commission an artist. Save up your money and commission an artist, or draw it yourself. If you're, if you want to get good at art, or you are good at art, draw it yourself, because you can improve your art by doing that. And not just that, but it's something you've actually made then. But if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, commission an artist. What I said, save up your money and commission the artist, because there are plenty of artists in this community that do cheap commissions or really expensive commissions. It's up to you what kind of quality you want. Also, do not steal someone else's fursona design. Now, this can be done on accident because there are a lot of fursonas in our community, so sometimes you may make one and it may accidentally look like somebody else's. That's fine. Just change your design a little bit more to make it more unique, and then you should be fine. But do not steal someone's design, because it is really annoying. For example, Hunter, it took me a while to design him. Even though he looks simple, it still took me a while to design him. And if I did see somebody stealing my design, I would get very, very annoyed at them. So do not steal people's fursona design. Tip number 4, do not complain about commission prices. Now, I already know I've said this in one of the other tips, but I want to make it very clear that it's not very nice to complain about certain artist commissions and that. So, just what I said, save up your money, don't complain. If you can't afford them, go to another artist. Now, this also does apply to fursuit makers, because a lot of people do, complain about fursuit prices. The reason they are so much money is because they're a lot of money to make. You know, the fur and the foam and all that together is not cheap to buy. So that's why the prices are up. And not just that, but most of these artists and fursuit makers actually they make a living off their art or their fursuits. Now, tip number 5, please do not come out as a furry. Being a furry is just a hobby, so please don't come out as one, because it's not a big deal, it's only a hobby. If you don't feel comfortable telling your friends or your family, don't tell them, they don't need to know. It's like what I said, I see a lot of young furs doing this, and it's like what I said, it's just a hobby. It's not like, you know, it's different if you obviously were coming out as gay, because that's a sexuality, but this is just a hobby, so you don't need to come out as one. And what I said, if you do feel comfortable telling somebody, tell them. But just remember that some people may react not how you expect them to react. Some people might be mean about it, and some people might be really chilled about it. Okay, I hope that helped with some of you younger furs, and if you do have any tips from any of your younger ones have tips, or even older furries have tips, comment them down below, because I think that'd be really cool to help out some of the younger furries to not make the same mistakes. And what I said, I hope this helped you a lot. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next week with another video. Goodbye.